Okay, so I checked out two books from the library about Maryland folklore. Um so I couldn't really find um the specific bleeding stone, which is Bleeding Stone of Lighthouse Farm. So anyway, the Bleeding Stone in Kent County, Maryland refers to a natural stone formation, likely a sandstone boulder that has reddish or brownish discoloration from the oxidation of iron containing minerals within the stone. While no specific historical name for a bleeding stone is mentioned in the search results, the phenomenon of reddish discoloration in stones is common in many locations, including Maryland. Okay, so this next one is on ChesapeakeBay.net. um, so this is about the Snow Hill Inn. Okay, so the building is said to be haunted by the spirit of William Idelot, known as JJ by many locals. In 1904, at the age of 22, JJ, who was struggling in his pharmacy school, was found with his throat cut twice. The death was officially ruled as a self-end, but some believe he was murdered and still haunts the inn, which was his childhood home. There have been reports of ghostly reflections in mirrors, windows opening and closing on their own, and lights flickering on and off. Okay. So that's the address if you want to visit. Anyway, this is the Hebron spook light. Local legend provides some paranormal explanation, including that years ago when the railroad was being built, a man with a lantern was killed there, and the light is his lantern. There is also a tale of a gambling dispute that resulted in a murder in the wooded area, and the ghost of the murdered gambler haunts the road. Another legend states a black man was hung in the woods and left to die, and it's his spirit that looks for the light of justice. And finally, a local man died by hanging himself in the nearby forest, and his body was never found until many years later. Okay. Pocomoke State Forest is filled with spirits and strange sightings. Tales of the old tree and hanging hole include ghostly werewolf creatures, spirits roaming on moonlit nights, and pacts made with the devil. But perhaps the spookiest story surrounds the old Nazarene church, where now all that remains of the parish is an abandoned cemetery. The story goes that after the original church was closed and boarded up, a large Bible was left on the pulpit. Every time someone tried to steal it and many tried, they didn't get very far. For even if they managed to lift the heavy Bible and start towards the door, the Bible got heavier and heavier and heavier until the thief dropped it on the floor and ran. There have been reports of numerous apparent drone sightings over the Delmarva Peninsula, including areas like Talbot County, Maryland. While the sightings have been described as anomalous, there's no evidence that they pose a national security or public safety threat. Patty Cannon, whose birth name may have been Lucretia Patricia Henley, circa 1759/1760 or 1769 to May 11th, 1829, was an illegal slave trader, serial killer, and the co-leader of the multiracial Cannon-Johnson gang of Maryland, Delaware. The group operated for about a decade in the early 19th century and abducted hundreds of free black people and fugitive slaves along the Delmarva Peninsula across multiple state lines to sell into slavery in southern states such as Alabama and Mississippi. The activity became known as the Reverse Underground Railroad. Okay, in Maryland, the most well-known connection between haunted horses and a location is at the Horse You Came In On Saloon in Baltimore. This saloon, a long-standing establishment, is believed to be haunted, with some even suggesting Edgar Allan Poe, who frequented the bar, might be a resident spirit. Additionally, the Assateague Island wild ponies are a popular draw, and while not explicitly haunted, they are a marvel to witness and have a unique history. Elaboration. The Horse You Came In On Saloon, Baltimore. This saloon, established in 1775, is renowned for its history and is also considered a haunted location. It was the last place Edgar Allan Poe was seen before his death, and stories persist of him haunting the saloon, including pulling bar stools or tossing glasses. Some even claim to see his ghost walking towards the bar at night. Assateague Island wild ponies. These wild horses are a fascinating part of Maryland's eastern shore, particularly on Assateague Island, which is also a national seashore. While not associated with specific hauntings, they are a captive site for visitors and a symbol of the island's unique ecosystem. The horses are believed to be descendants of horses brought to the island in the 17th century to avoid fencing laws and taxation. Other haunted horses. While less prominent, other locations in Maryland might have stories of haunted horses. For example, the legend of the Headless Horseman is associated with a Civil War soldier who was reportedly buried with his head missing. Additionally, the ghost hunters of Baltimore have investigated claims of a haunting in a carousel where one of the horses was believed to be haunted. So, I got this story from Facebook. It's the same story that's in the Haunted Maryland book I checked out. So anyway, a lot of places on Mischief Night, teenagers playfully soap car windows and toss corn at neighbors' homes. But years ago, according to one longtime resident, during Halloween week in peaceful rising sun, all hell would break loose. To hear Cecil County old-timers tell it, the shenanigans started around the turn of the last century in the early 1900s. Townsfolk used to head out into the countryside and pick up farm machinery, porch furniture, rocking chairs, corn husks, and loads of manure. Then they dump it all right smack dab beneath the town's lone traffic light in front of the National Bank of Rising Sun. As years passed, the practice changed a bit. Town residents would wait by their front windows for the late mischief night or early Halloween morning arrival of one or more outhouses. That's right, private outdoor toilets. For decades, unidentified pranksters delivered these stolen structures with dependability that would put most Federal Express couriers to shame. Some say the tradition from assorted purloined goods to old-fashioned Johnnies on the spot began in the 1920s. In the olden days when there were lots of outhouses available, teenage boys would haul them into Center Square up to 5 nights in a row. In later years, the mysterious events occurred on October 30th or the 31st or both. Ask area elders if they were involved in this rite of passage and you'll get a wink, a sly grin, or boastful and heavily embellished tall tales. But hazy historical records cannot negate the fact that outhouses appear each autumn with regularity, and those stories associated with this wacky custom could fill a fair-sized ledger. One year, the town drunk used one of the outhouses as a bathroom while it was sitting under the traffic light. One fella had an outhouse fall on him as he was trying to move it, and another unlucky soul slipped and fell headfirst into the sewage pit while trying to shake an outhouse loose of its foundation. A cagey farmer locked himself inside his privy and allowed the boys to carry it all the way into town. When they deposited the structure, its owner stepped out, displayed his shotgun, and said, "All right, boys, let's take it back." The autumnal adventure got so far under the skin of one mayor that he hired an off-duty Wilmington, some say Baltimore, detective to end the matter. The challenge inflamed the local boys who flattened the stranger's car tires and ran the hired gun out of town. During some years, police gave the phantom perpetrators and their perforated privy a light flashing its glory as residents and out-of-towners lined the streets holding cameras to capture the scene. More recently, however, town officials and law enforcement personnel decided things were getting a bit out of hand, and they established curfews to discourage the practice. According to former Mayor Judy Cox, as the area became more congested and traffic increased, the event became a safety concern. The arrival of modern plumbing also reduced the availability of outdoor toilets, as the lack of interest contributed to the demise of the distinctive small-town custom. Today, an outhouse appears intermittently in late October, placed by an individual or small group to commemorate the quirky custom. But those in the know say it's a pale reminder of the practice's heyday when farm implements, porch furniture, and yes, a purloined privy or two would be piled sky high in Rising Sun's town square.